Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Caregiving Gen X Style. I'm Steve Mullen.
And I'm Jennifer Mullen.
For some caregivers, conversation with their loved ones is easy. But for others, though, it can become a struggle to figure out what to talk about during an hour or two visit. In this episode, we'll have some tips on things to keep you and your elderly loved one occupied and happy while you're hanging out together. But first, Jennifer, how is your mom?
Mom is doing well. Trying to think. We've really had since our last recording, with our recordings a little further apart.
Knock on wood.
We've really had no incidents, though. She's been doing pretty well.
Good.
Speaking of conversation and my mom, though, this has now been several weeks ago, but I think I've mentioned probably somewhere along the way that this is a mix of conversation / technology. And I think I've mentioned somewhere along the way before that my mom is connected to a couple of my coworkers, and they are absolutely delightful with her, about her. They enjoy seeing her when she posts on Facebook, and they'll engage with her. But for some reason, recently, she accidentally called one of my employees who's been connected to her on Facebook for a while, and she ended up with Mom's number. They ended up connected, via phone back during the pandemic.
Right.
My employee was just delightful when I was kind of putting out the call for, hey, my mom's pretty isolated. If anybody wants to, leave her a video message on Facebook or whatever, that would be great. But they actually connected via phone. Mm-hmm. So, but it's been years, really. It's been years. And randomly, she apparently called my employee so I run into her in the break room one day. This is my employee, Eileen. And she's like, by the way, I just want to let you know your mom accidentally called me last night. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. She says, no, it was fine. It was fine. 2 days later, same thing happened again. So of course I file away in my head, okay, when I go over to Mom's next, I just need to delete Eileen's number out of her phone. But actually I think my brother had gotten there the next day, and so he actually knew what had happened and deleted her number out of Mom's phone. So, it was amusing, though. And Eileen was so lovely about it. She also is a caregiver for... You know how I feel about that. Yes, I do. She is also a caregiver for her mom and her sister, who is quite a bit older than she is. So we share funny stories all the time about our moms and some of the funny little things that happen and
quirky stuff that adventures. They do.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, Steve, how's your mom?
I want to brag on my mom for a little bit.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So she's doing fine. Everything's totally fine with her health wise, but she some time ago, and I truly don't know when this started. Maybe it's something she used to do a long time ago that she's picked back up, or maybe it's something she started doing since she's been in assisted living. I don't know, but she's been making her own jewelry.
Yes.
Beaded jewelry with, necklaces, earrings, bracelets a little bit. And, she's gotten kind of good at it. And she's very proud of her pieces.
Yes.
I get shown them all the time.
Yes.
But she actually recently led a class on how to make, this one was earrings. They made earrings, and she had 11 people come down and do it, which I think for arts and crafts is pretty good, she said. And they're going to hold another one in a few days from now, from the time we're recording this, where they make, and I think this is a great idea, they're going to make beaded necklaces with clasps on the bottom, and the clasp is designed to hold their emergency button.
So kind of like a lanyard.
Yeah, it's like it, but beaded.
Yeah.
And they can make their own colors, and they can do all kinds of stuff. And they, the activity director got the clasps and all the beads and stuff. And, they even made up a little, when they have an activity coming up in a couple of days, like something different, they'll put up a little flyer in a stand around the building. And they made one for my mother for her beading class.
I love it.
She was so proud of it, and she showed it to me, and she was so
awesome.
proud.
I hope they use lightweight beads for the lanyards.
Oh, they're little beads.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
little beads.
These are older people.
Sure.
And putting a big heavy lanyard around your
Oh
neck.
no, these are little teeny tiny beads.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
So anyway,
Hey,
she's
maybe
happy
Hannah
about
comes
that.
by her craftiness honestly.
Maybe she does, because she doesn't get it from either of us, really.
Yeah. If we've never talked about it, our daughter has a little side business. Actually, she's a nurse. As if you've been listening, you all know she's a nurse, but she has actually quite a successful little business that she does on the side and sells at artists
Some nice
collectives
little
and markets.
side
and,
income of hers. Yeah.
and on as she's got an Etsy shop. So yeah.
Yes,
awesome.
she was on, and she actually plugged her Etsy shop
Oh,
two
did
different
she?
times.
Oh,
Both times
did
she was
she?
on.
Okay, yes.
The
Well-
second time, I think I had her do a code.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
yeah,
So
a
anyway,
discount
that's something
code.
that Nana and Hannah have in common.
They do. In fact, my mother has asked, well, do you think Hannah would want to sell some of my earrings in her shop? And I'm thinking, I've seen them. I mean, they're nice and everything, but they're pretty easy to make. And they're not really the style of the people that come into the collective that Hannah has her little booth in.
Yeah, and Hannah's, even though it's a very specific style of jewelry that she does. It's a skill, it's a craft.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes, I'm not taking away from the jewelry that your mom makes, but I would agree. Yeah, it's a much simpler. It's not so much art.
No, it's construction. And I think,
Yeah.
I mean, my mother even said, well, I don't, she wouldn't have to charge me just a couple of dollars or something. And I think she even said Hannah wouldn't have to give it to me. I mean, it's just, she enjoys doing it.
I don't know. Okay.
I've kind of discouraged that a little bit.
We've got a squirrel moment here. George,
Yeah, we do.
thanks. See, I knew we put George on the table. We might have a squirrel moment, but actually that's a discussion. We should put a pin in that because, maybe Hannah could take one or two pairs.
Well, I think if
of
she
your
takes
mom's
one or two
earrings.
pairs, then if they sell at all ever, then it'll become a regular thing.
Fair. Okay.
Anyway,
all right,
let's
squirrel.
get back on
let's
track.
get back to the episode.
So this episode was inspired by a question on Reddit that I saw from a Gen Xer who was traveling cross-country to visit his elderly mother. So she's in assisted living, and he said they typically talk every couple of weeks, but don't really have much in common. Frankly, I'm not really sure any of us have a ton in common with people who are 70, 80, 90 and more, other than like a shared history of growing up with them. But, regardless, sometimes conversation can be a bit of a struggle. So we thought we would toss out a bunch of ideas for people who visit their relatives rather than live with them. Even those who do see their loved ones all the time may even get some ideas from this. So let's get started. Jennifer.
Yeah. So first off, plan your activities. So if you're coming from out of town, like the Redditor, or even if you visit once a week or so, try to have a plan in your head. Expecting, to just sit down and start a conversation, you might end up just staring at each other without a whole lot to say. I mean, listen, if it works for you just to walk in and you sit down and you can easily make conversation, that's great. You might not need our help, but you might want to think through maybe some topics for discussion before you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I do, I visit my mother 3 days a week, and I'm there for an hour to an hour and a half, usually each time. And typically that's when I fill her in on what the kids are doing. And what we're doing and how the pets are. If you listen to our last episode, that's been a big topic of conversation with our cat's health not being so good. By the way, she's doing great.
She's doing
knock on wood.
She's doing great.
But so
You're getting a little obsessive about her food. But speaking of squirrel moments,
she's gotten
we won't
a little
go there.
skinny, and it worries me a little bit. So I just want to feed her a little bit extra, and
yeah.
she's happy to eat it.
She is.
So anyway, the point is I fill her in all these things. The problem comes up when nothing's really going on. And that does happen sometimes. So that's, where some of these suggestions can come up.
Yep.
Another suggestion is you can ask your loved one to put together a list of things they want you to do for them.
Do you have to ask your mom to
I
do
do
that?
not,
Yeah, I didn't think
in fact,
so.
have to ask my mother.
I feel like that's there every time.
There is a list waiting for me every time I walk in the door. And actually, an hour and a half, there are some times that the first half hour is just doing lists.
And we've talked about, I know the kids know this, we walk in the door with the kids and she goes straight to the list before she even has time to say hello to anybody.
Nothing happens until the list is done. All crossed off.
So clearly you don't have to ask her to put a list together.
I do not, but this could be putting up a new shelf, hanging pegs for coats, just ordering them things off Amazon or elsewhere. I've mentioned just mention what my visits were like. But, if your loved one lives alone, you can offer to take them to the grocery store, carry all their things to the house and put them away. This will be a big, big help for even someone who's pretty independent.
Yeah. So certainly if they're able to get out and about, plan to take them out for lunch or dinner. Going out for a meal can be an activity all by itself. And it's one that your loved one may not actually get to do very often, right? Especially if, they no longer drive.
Correct.
So maybe they're living independently and they're still mobile, but they don't drive anymore. Yeah, they can't get out and do these things on their own anymore. So, if you're short on conversation topics, sometimes just being in a restaurant can help. I mean, heck, you can talk about the food, but you can also people watch and make up stories about people's lives. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I know it is. I learned that very early on in our relationship.
Airport on our honeymoon. I know.
Yep.
You had everybody's story figured out.
You had them all figured out.
Love it.
I remember specifically one of them. I think it was a mother with a daughter, and you were convinced that the parents were split up.
Yeah.
And this was her time.
Yeah.
And the daughter didn't really want to be there.
I mean, I had it all figured out. So you can go to a restaurant with your loved one and you can do stuff make a game out of it. It's really kind of fun. Yeah. So what else, Steve?
You can take them for a drive. And this is something I know you do with your mother.
Yeah.
A lot of our elderly loved ones, as Jennifer said, don't drive anymore. And even if they are able to drive around town, they may not venture far from home, maybe go to the grocery store, the drugstore, or whatever. So your drive could be to the nearby countryside if there is that sort of thing around you. You could have a destination, somewhere that means something to both of you, like maybe someplace you used to live. Or if you live by the beach or the mountains, you could go there.
You can. So speaking of maybe have a destination. So there is a produce stand that's about 10 miles outside of our neighborhood. And if you take a right out of our neighborhood, it gets very rural very quickly. So it's
if you
also
go left, it's heavy suburbia. Right, it's rural. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. But the scenery is really pretty. And there are also you can, on the way back, sometimes we'll take a different route and you can drive down some really pretty country roads. But this particular produce stand has the best fresh bacon.
Oh, they do.
On the face of the planet. And so that's a destination for Mom and I. It's something to do. We take a drive, we listen to some music, we chat. I pop into the produce stand and I get bacon. Sometimes she wants some too, get some for her. And then we come back and, by the time we've done that, that's enough of an outing
She's
for
ready
her.
to go home. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's good. It's good. So on a related note, and actually my brother does this a lot with our mom, you could take them to a park. You could take them to a park to feed the ducks or geese, or just people watch and get some sunshine. My brother takes my mom. There's a local park, a beautiful local park. They will pick up lunch somewhere or pack some lunch and go sit at the park and have lunch if the weather's nice. So they love to do that. Of course, if your loved one is able to walk a little bit of a distance, they can get some exercise out of the activity. If they can't walk very far, bring a travel wheelchair with you, which is, of course, what my brother does with my mom. And if absolutely necessary, these can be rented at a number of places like medical equipment stores. So, for example, we have one actually right in town.
If you have in your town an old school pharmacy. Ours actually still has a lunch counter.
I know.
And the grilled cheese there is amazing because I don't think they've cleaned the grill since about 1954.
Probably not.
So the food's really good there.
It is really good.
But it is an old school pharmacy.
But you can find... Ours is not that big, but it's amazing. Whatever random weird piece of medical equipment you need, they do have it. It's really weird. But yes, you can also rent for a short period of time. So that's a good idea. Now, if your loved one is not really an outdoorsy person, or, maybe it's too darn hot, like it's been around here a lot this summer, you can always take them to a local museum. You could take them to a sporting event. Of course, that's, if the weather's not great, that's not necessarily the best option, but a local museum, it's been a minute since I've done this with my mom, but a couple things she and I went and saw an awesome photography exhibit at our amazing art museum in the city. And then when my other brother was in town, this was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was one of those traveling, it was the Van Gogh immersive experience,
yes,
they call it.
Where they project everything around you.
It was amazing. I mean, we did that, and that was super fun. So, look for creative things.
The great thing about museums is they are ADA compliant.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it's easy to get in and out with a wheelchair, and you can see everything with a wheelchair. And most of the time it's tile floors, so it's easy to push the wheelchair.
Yes.
So one final out of the house idea would be to take them to a movie. Like with all the things we mentioned so far, your loved one may really enjoy it because it's something they just don't get to do very often anymore. And sitting in a movie theater for a couple of hours with a warm bucket of popcorn in your lap can be a huge treat for anyone, including... That's Jennifer's favorite thing.
One of my favorite things to do.
But the great thing about it, everybody's enjoying everything, and you don't have to talk.
Yeah. Well,
there's no talking.
True. Yeah, that's true.
That's why it's also, back in the day, it was a great date.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to have conversation for 2 hours. You could just watch the movie to enjoy the popcorn.
Yeah. Well, plus also in this day and age, so you've said a million times about movies, not to digress too much, but like, oh my God, it's so expensive. We could just wait and watch it at home. It is expensive. What I love about it is I am forced to put my phone down and not think about work for 2 solid hours if I'm sitting in a movie theater. Just don't have to think about it. So, yeah, movies are great for everyone.
So if your loved one does not like to go out or has a hard time going out, there are still things you can do at their home to keep them occupied and happy.
Yeah,
Jennifer?
You can definitely pull out old photo albums.
This is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. So we've said it on the show before. Folks with memory issues in particular, they may not remember what year it is, but they'll remember their third cousin from a wedding photo that was taken 60 years ago. It is so true. Go through the photo album, ask who the people are. Steve, I feel like your mom, you've got a lot of like good family dirt.
Oh, good family dirt. I think I can say this. I'm not going to mention any names, and these people have all passed away now. But for instance, just recently, we were organizing some old photos and stuff, and she pointed out, oh, well, that's your great aunt. That's her sister. That's her sister. All 3 of them had children out of wedlock. Isn't that interesting? Oh, yeah. Well, that is interesting.
Which, by the way, whatever.
And by the way, they all got married and had more kids after that.
I mean, we're talking about people.
This is 2026. Nobody
cares. A gazillion years ago.
But of course, back then it was a big scandal.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, which is fun to know.
Yeah. Well, it's also been fun too because your mom has been pulling out some old photos of our children when they were little.
The stuff we gave her.
Right. And it's not that we don't have that stuff, but, we don't necessarily go pull all that stuff out. So your mom has sent home a couple of treats lately.
Oh, one of the coolest things we found, this all started because she was looking for one specific picture of her and a friend from her neighborhood who now lives in assisted living with her, with a couple of other people. They used to go on cruises together.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one specific picture that she was trying to find. She has no idea where she put it. I remember seeing it. It exists still, but we don't know where it is.
Yeah.
So we were looking for this through this big box of photos that's up in the top of her closet and shoved to the side. And we were looking all through there. In there was my father's sophomore year high school yearbook.
Right.
And so we were flipping through it. Now, the first funny thing that comes up, and we were trying to find his picture first, and we couldn't find it. And she's flipping through. Oh no, that's the honors program. He wasn't in that. Kept flipping, but we never really found him. But what she did find is where she had signed his yearbook when they were dating.
I mean, that's a treasure.
That's really cool.
That is very cool.
Really, really cool.
Yes,
so
that is definitely very cool.
And she signed it, loved and kisses. Now, she signs everything.
That sounds familiar.
Well, she signs everything. All of her cards, she signs hugs and kisses now, which is interesting. It's to her grandkids.
So she doesn't love us. She only wants to hug them. She doesn't love them, but she loved your dad, definitely.
I guess so.
Yeah. Well, something else you can do, too, is ask if you can help organize their papers. This is things like their insurance policies, a will if they have one.
Which they should have.
Yep. Things like marriage and birth certificate papers. And surely this would bring up memories, that they can talk about. And it has the added benefit of making sure these things are all in one place and where they are. So, win-win.
And we did that recently also. Still looking for this picture. She thought maybe it was in her firebox.
Right.
And I said, Mom, that picture's not in there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to check. Okay, so I had to move like 4 things, pull down this big, heavy firebox, which also is on the top shelf. And we flipped through
tall.
it. Good thing I'm tall and still relatively sturdy and strong. But, I pulled it down and I said, it's not in here. But of course we flipped through, and of course every time we go through there, we find something that we hadn't seen before.
Right.
And we had some fun with that, even though we had just recently organized the things, but it still took up about 20 minutes and everybody was happy.
Yep.
You can also make sure you're helpful to them by fixing things around your home, even if you're not handy. This is useful even in an assisted living or a nursing home. You can hang pictures. You can put up new coat hooks. You can make sure a squeaky door gets fixed. Before your visit, ask your loved one to put together a list. Now, my mother, she does that for me.
Yeah.
But ask them to put together a list of things you can work on while you're there.
Yep. Yeah. And one of the things I've done with my mom a couple times, and I'm sure my brother has done this too, but every now and then we will go through her kitchen cabinets and, sometimes like everybody, especially, after she's been in the hospital, usually we come home with extra, the big plastic hospital mugs and I don't know. I mean, stuff.
Which are really, really good water cups.
Yeah, they
really are.
But I mean, stuff just randomly collects. I mean, even someone like my mom who's like lives pretty minimalistically, like, I don't know, stuff just collects. And every now and then it's just good to kind of go through the cabinets and clear stuff out and clean it up. And certainly the hall closet that's by her bathroom, supplies build up and you start shoving stuff in there sometimes. And so it's good every now and then to kind of go through, and maybe something that she used a year ago is something that she's not going to use anymore.
Right.
Whatever. Right? And again, it takes up time. And of course I love to clean and organize. So
I know you do.
I feel better when I leave there when we've done that.
I do need to do that with my mother. I have a feeling that her coat closet probably has a number of things in it that don't need to exist in that apartment anymore.
For those of you who are listening, the nightmare of cleaning out.
Yes.
This feels like this could potentially be the assisted living nightmare of cleaning out.
She has done a much better
Well, she has no choice
job
to a certain extent.
Right. She's done a much better job offloading things lately.
Yeah. Okay.
She did send several stacks of clothes back home with me to go to Goodwill that she doesn't wear anymore. But I do think the top shelf in her coat closet just has stuff. And who's shoving them up there? I'm shoving them up there because she can't reach up there.
Yeah.
But I suspect there were things just put up there. We'll figure that out later. And they could probably go away.
Well, it's also a little bit, we used to do this, or I did, with like the kids' toys many years ago. If I would see that things weren't really being played with, I would take them. I sort of had a loose 6-month rule. It would go up in the attic for 6 months, and if nobody asked for it, it was time for that to leave. Now, yes, Steve, you're giving me that look. Every now and then, at 6 months and 1 day, one of the kids would say, "Oh, where are my littlest pet shops? Oh, you mean the toys you haven't played with for 6 months?
Where is my stuffed unicorn, Mother?"
Oh my God.
Mother.
Yeah. But anyway, it's very similar though, I think, like with your mom too, or if you have a loved one who likes to hang on to things, that's to me, that's a good tip. Take it, put it away. If no one needs it within 6 months, you've changed seasons. Maybe if you need to keep it a year, whatever. You've gone through all the seasons. And if no one needs it anymore, bye-bye.
Make it go away.
Time to go.
Make it go away. Time to go. All right, this next one is for Jennifer specifically.
Oh, can't wait. What is it? Oh,
read it.
Am I talking about it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Duh. I mean, this one is particularly important if your loved one still lives independently, like my mom does. But make sure when you leave that their home is absolutely spotless. Most people love a good clean house, but they may not be able to do things like wipe down baseboards and clean under the toilet. And doing that for them will be a huge gift. And yes, absolutely. I mean, in all seriousness, between my brother and I think each of us, probably, maybe not quite daily, but pretty close to daily, my mom's apartment gets swept. And we've gone through a few different versions of mops that make it way easier to mop her apartment like quickly. But yeah, and wipe down the counters with the Clorox wipes and, wipe down the bathroom. And yeah, I don't know. Everybody feels better. And also, I keep in my mom's apartment a really nice smelling candle And usually, I don't know if anybody else, I'm not sure if my brother does it. I definitely do it. I walk in, I light the candle. It's like one of the first things I do. And it does get a lovely fresh scent throughout the apartment.
Make sure you put it out
blow it
when
out
you
before I
leave.
leave. Yep, nope. I have a whole system, Steve. I have a whole system.
Okay,
Trust.
it's not as though you haven't left candles burning in our house when you left.
I'm not
Sure,
do that
you don't
in her
care if our
apartment,
house
though.
burns down as long as hers does.
Yeah, whatever. Right. I need to make sure I don't burn her down. So, yeah.
One final note. If your loved one is living in a nursing home or assisted living, remember their days are very much planned out for them. There are things going on all day long. There may be an activity on most days, and your loved one may not want to miss that activity.
Like bingo.
Like bingo. Do not get in the way of bingo.
Don't get in the way of bingo.
So don't feel like, if you're coming in like from out of town, for instance, don't feel like you need to be with them all day long. Even if you're visiting from out of town or something, don't feel like you need to be there all day long. That much, number one, that's much socialization may wear them out. But if there's an activity at the community, you could go with them is one thing you could possibly do. And again, that'll take up some spare time. I have been known to play a round of bingo or two if I get there.
I'm jealous of, by the way.
I know you are.
Because I love bingo.
Your loved one may enjoy showing you off to their friends, and believe me, they do. This is my son, daughter, grandson, whatever, nephew, and believe me, they love showing you off.
I've said that, by the way. I've said this before, and I think I encouraged you to do this on your mom's birthday this past year when I said, take a balloon, and you were a little bit like, eh.
You had said that previously. You did not say that this year. I just happened to remember it and get the balloon.
Okay. Well, then that means you listened to me.
I remembered
But anyway, the point is,
advice.
You put the balloon, you tied it to her wheelchair, even though she was like, oh, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But then
I'm going to do it, and you won't even see it.
Yep.
Of course.
Yes.
And then the minute I rolled her into the dining room for dinner,
Spotlight.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, they like, most of them like being the center of attention, even if they would never admit it.
Of course. And if you think about it, they're now living in a world, if they're in assisted living, they're now living in a world where, they're not really a special flower. They're not independent. And everybody's kind of treated more or less the same way. So it's nice for them to have their moment in the sunshine.
So I had one more tip that is not in our copious notes I kind of came up with.
Going off the reservation.
I am going off the reservation, off the script, as they say. Okay. Don't be afraid to leave early if there's just nothing to talk about. And this is really more for somebody like me who visits several times a week, or Jennifer who visits several times a week. If you're just sitting there and you're staring at each other, I'll give an example. Just yesterday, I was over there. We are recording this during a time when the Canadian wildfire smoke has kind of invaded the upper eastern quadrant of the country. Our air quality where we live was just horrendous yesterday. So I did not think it was a good idea for us to go outside. Typically, I'll get her outside, and that's one thing she likes to do. And she does get more chatty. I think I've mentioned that. She gets much more chatty. The minute you get her outside, it's funny. The vitamin D hits her and just blah, 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 blah. But we were sitting in her apartment, and I said, it's kind of hot outside, plus the air quality is just awful, awful, awful. So we probably shouldn't go outside. And we got through all of her have-tos, got through her list. I told her what little I could tell her about what was going on, because, she's fully up to date on everybody. So finally, I just said, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and go and head on out. Do you mind? And she was fine with it. And I've done that a few times before. So don't feel like you have to stay until a particular set time.
Yeah, I've definitely
if there's just nothing to talk about, there's nothing to talk about.
I've found that to be the case with my mom sometimes. I've had certainly times, if it's on a weekend and I've had a thought in my head of like, maybe I'll stay a little bit longer today. And then honestly, we might not, for whatever reason, might not have that much to talk about that day. Mm-hmm. And then, she'll start asking me the same question 3 times over. Not because she's forgotten something, but it's just, she'll be trying to keep the conversation going. And then, that'll kind of be annoying. And we just realized like we don't really have anything to talk about, but we've seen each other and kissed each other, and we've done the have-tos in the apartment, and sometimes it's okay to not sit there for an hour or two.
I've got another bonus tip that I literally just came up with.
Literally.
If they live in a community, whether it's independent, assisted living, even a nursing home, and you are just struggling, ask what the latest gossip is, because believe me, you'll get it. If they're anything at all like my mother,
Yeah.
you will get it. She will gossip like you wouldn't believe. Your mother's.
I was going to say,
know
it
you
doesn't
know
even have to
everything
be
in
a
the
community.
entire
I mean,
complex.
she sometimes will share things with me. She'll say, oh, well, so-and-so, whatever, or, I saw so-and-so walking in the parking lot. I'm like, Mama, I have no idea who that is. I don't know. I know her immediate neighbors, and I know a decent amount about their lives. A younger woman and a middle-aged man who's retired military, and I kind of know some things about them. That's about as much as I can keep up with.
Yep. Believe me, I know all the gossip, and in fact, my goodness, my mother. There's this one woman at the assisted living.
Save that for another episode.
I will, but I will say, I've gotten all the gossip, and I'll do that in a How's Your Mom at some point, but I've gotten all the gossip about her, and I was sitting with my mother, and one of her favorite CNAs comes in to let her know that she will be helping her to go to bed that night. And the two of them start gossiping about this woman. Which by the way, is
very inappropriate.
It's inappropriate.
Very inappropriate for the CNA, but
it is. Well, actually, I don't know that she was so much giving the information. My mother was giving the information to her.
Well, fine, fair point.
So I guess that's okay. Anyway, that's the end of our I'm out of bonus information.
Okay, are you sure?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I'll probably come up with something the minute I turn off the recorder.
Probably,
thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us, caregivinggenxstyle@gmail.com. You can text or leave a voicemail, 804-723-1221. You can find us on Twitter, @GenXCaregiving is the handle. Please go to Facebook. That's where we post the most. I'll put a few random things here and there, even an occasional picture of a cat. You can find us there by going to the show notes of this episode and clicking on the link that'll take you straight there. Reminder, we are still in our summer schedule, which means the next episode will not come out for about a month. And we're hoping to go camping between now and then. Hooray. It's been really hard to schedule a weekend to go camping, and we're very, very excited. Anyway, thanks to everyone for listening. Have a great day.
Good night, everyone.